Hello, I'm Sam with jbugs.com. In our last video, we finished up wiring a 1966 Beetle, and by the end had everything in the car working, with the exception of the horn. The horn wiring, or more specifically grounding, can cause the horn to either turn on as soon as the key is turned on, or as in the case with this car, not turn on at all. The horn wiring and grounding is the same from 1960 through 1967, so this video is applicable for any of those year Beetles. We'll back up the installation a bit to show the horn circuit, and with the horn temporarily hooked up, we can explain the horn wiring and how it works. When the key is on, power is sent to the horn from the ignition terminal at the fuse box, so whenever the key is on, the horn has power. The double black-red and black-yellow wire goes through the front left harness and runs down to the horn. When you press the horn button, you complete the ground, turning the horn on. The entire steering column and the shaft are rubber mounted and isolated from the metal of the car. There's a rubber steering coupler at the steering box, isolating the shaft, and a rubber grommet at the firewall, along with a rubber grommet at the dash, keep the column itself isolated. If either the column or the shaft is grounding out, as soon as you turn on your key, the horn would begin to honk. The ground begins at the steering box. The steering column wire attaches to one of the bolts that hold the steering coupler to the steering box. The ground wire travels up the steering shaft, and when the horn button is pressed, the wire grounds out the steering horn ring to the steering wheel, which is attached to the steering shaft. The steering shaft rides on a steel bearing that transmits the ground to the column tube, and from there to the wire at the bottom of the column. That wire connects to the horn, and the horn begins to honk. Hopefully this will help you track down the problem if your horn doesn't work. And now we can get to the problem in our own system. After checking for power at the horn, and then grounding it out to make sure that the horn works, we know that the problem is in our ground connection. So we'll go back to the starting point of the ground, the steering box connection, and work our way up to the horn to see where the problem is. With a continuity tester, we can hear an audible beep that tells us the wire connection at the steering box and wire is good. We check continuity of the wire that runs through the steering column, and it's good. Then we ground out the wire to the steering wheel and the steering shaft itself, and still nothing happens at our horn, so we know the problem must be in between the steering shaft and the metal steering column tube. In other words, the bearing that the shaft rides in is not transmitting the ground between the shaft and the column. So we pull the steering wheel, the turn signal switch and column, and we can see the steering shaft has been painted, so it is sanded down to bare metal. And while we're at it, we lightly sand down the bearing race on the column, and then reassemble the steering column. We reattach the wiring at the bottom of the steering column, and then with the key on, we ground out the horn button wire to the steering shaft and can see sparks and hear that the horn is working. Everything on the steering column can be reinstalled. We press the horn ring, the horn honks, so we snap on the horn button, and with that, all the wiring on this 1966 Beetle is complete. Hopefully this video, along with our others, will give you the confidence to work on your wiring or rewire your VW. Most all Beetle wiring is similar, and getting familiar with your VW's electrical system will help you diagnose and fix any electrical gremlins that come up later down the road. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and say hello in the comments below. And of course, when you need parts for your vintage Volkswagen, head over to jbugs.com.